Summa Silver is a silver-focused company with projects in the US. And before I get started, I'm just going to give everyone 3 good reasons to own Summa Silver today. The first one is we have 2 American high-grade silver projects that, in their day were these prolific historic Wild West producers. But before we got involved, hadn't really seen too much, or in certain places, any modern exploration. So that, I always find that that's a really good environment to do exploration in, and so far we've been very successful. Number two, we very recently put out 2 high-grade mineral resource estimates for the first time on both of these projects as we try to wrap our arms around what is left remaining in these historic districts. And then number three, there's a really good comp to us. The company right next door to one of our projects, Blackrock Silver, has 100 million ounces drilled out and maybe growing. They're doing a lot of drilling now. And we think we're undervalued relative to them. And I'll get into all of those things here during the presentation, and of course, looking forward to answering questions afterwards. Like everyone else, I will be making some forward-looking statements, and this is available on our website should anyone need it. Okay, so I'm just going to start off with the resource estimates here and an opening slide that's entitled Why Summa Silver. So I'm just looking at the 2 resource estimates on the left. Starting at the bottom, the green bars are our Hughes project in Nevada. We've got about 35 million ounces and change in the inferred categories there, with the underground resources have a nice grade of 418 grams per ton silver equivalent. And then an additional 10.47 million indicated ounces at a grade of 332 grams per ton silver equivalent on our Nevada project. On the Mogollon project in New Mexico, the blue part of the chart here, an additional 32 million ounces at 367 grams per ton silver equivalent. So a lot of numbers there. I apologize in advance that but just I think it's really interesting and good to go through all of that, because projects like this are just generally so rare. Like, you can count on maybe even on one hand how many high-grade American silver projects there are that are primarily precious metals, that are, say, over 25 million ounces, that aren't in the hands of a major. And if you put that and think about that in terms of these ongoing and new tariff threats that these wouldn't be subjected to, it makes them potentially even more valuable, which is a new little interesting twist on the current political dramas going on between our 2 countries. But other than that, I mean, we've got a lot of high-grade drill results, lots of zones over 2,000 grams per ton silver equivalent. We're drilling right now, so it's not like we're sitting back and saying, okay, like, here are the resources, now come on and take a look at the stock. No, it's still we're still very much in gas pedal mode. Drilling now on the project in Tonopah, Nevada, stepping out around where we know there's some really good zones, on the fringes of where the resource is, and looking like we're hitting some interesting veins, although assays are still pending. Again, the numbers on the left, but this is just to introduce the locations of our projects. So on the map on the right, so the Hughes project is located in Tonopah, Nevada. It's the eastern half of the historic Tonopah Mining District and its extensions. And then looking south east into New Mexico, the Mogollon project is located in this corner of New Mexico, and likely represents perhaps the most northerly of the famous Mexican silver districts that the Spanish have been mining going back 500 plus years. Okay, I'll briefly introduce the team. Myself, Galen. I'm a geologist going back 15 years or so, like Arlen was saying. I've founded this company in 2020 with the idea of looking at silver in the United States. Jordi Belfiore, our investor relations and corporate development manager. If you're already familiar with the company, there's a pretty good chance you've talked to him. Chris Leslie, a senior geologist. He's one of the gentlemen that discovered the Blackwater gold deposit in British Columbia, something like 8.2 million ounces in the proven and probable categories right now. And then our VP exploration is based in Nevada, Chris York. He joined us from Hecla 3 or 4 years ago or so now, and he was managing all of the exploration for Hecla, or excuse me, a lot of the exploration for Hecla in Nevada around some of their deposits. Okay, importantly, the cap structure of our company, 121 million shares outstanding, 149 million fully diluted, market cap today of about $43.5 million at 36 cents. The stock's actually woken up quite nicely in the last month as investors start to get more and more interested in precious metals, but I think we've still got a long way to go. We're in a good position. We've got a little under $6 million in working cap that we're currently deploying into the ground now as we aggressively step out around our resource in Tonopah. Importantly, important shareholders and who owns what. Eric Sprott is the largest shareholder of the company. He owns 17%. And then between management and close associates and institutional and high net worth investors, it's quite a bit more than that combined, which of course from our perspective is very nice. And then lastly, just in terms of analyst coverage, we've got Stuart McDougall at Research Capital Corporation covering us now, and he's got a buy price target on us of $1.30. So just very briefly, why silver? I think a lot of people on this call know why silver is a good investment. But the things I like to highlight are, yeah, hey, it's a great hedge against monetary instability. And of course, silver generally, usually, always outperforms gold in precious metals bull markets in the long run. But there's these new industrial applications to silver that just weren't much of a factor even 2, 3, 4 years ago, or much less of a factor is a better way to put that. Especially in the solar panel industry, where a little bit of silver goes into every solar panel. But when you think about big build outs of solar farms in different places all over the world, all of a sudden that new demand becomes pretty significant in the context of the size of the silver market, which is generally small. So just briefly, historic American mining projects. These are old photos from our projects. That's Hughes on the left and Mogollon on the right. I'm just a big fan of the history, and there's lots to learn here. That's probably just outside of the scope of this presentation. But if you're interested in the same things I am, historic mining in old Wild West places, there's lots to find on the internet in these places. Okay. So I'll switch gears and talk specifically about the projects in a little more detail. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Hughes project. This is in Nevada, in the Walker Lane. Again, the resources are on the right, but just to concentrate on the map on the left, we're here halfway between Reno and Las Vegas on the highway. And this is in the Walker Lane trend, gold trend, precious metals trend. And the thing I like to point out that, hey, like we're doing exploration in the land of the Comstock, one of the richest deposits ever found in the 1800s, produced something like 8.3 million ounces of gold and 200 million ounces of silver. That was the first Nevada silver district. The second one was of course Tonopah, 175 million ounces of silver produced and 1.9 million ounces of gold. It's really these two places, Tonopah and the Comstock district, that give Nevada its name. It's the Silver State. When you drive into Nevada, the signs say "Welcome to the Silver State." It's because of these two places. Again, looking at the projects, we're in blue. Our friends and colleagues at BlackRock Silver are in black on the left, and really it's the same. We're looking at the same district. They've drilled out, of course, 100 million ounces. We've drilled out 33 in the inferred category, an additional 10 in the indicated category. How much left is there to find here? We think there's a lot. And between the two, it's really the same system. The veins cross from one to the next. We're both aggressively doing exploration right now. And again, this is obviously a place that has a lot more love to give. There's a lot more silver and gold here for us to find. Some of our drill results on the left, not to get into too much details, I just wanted to concentrate on the targets on the right, where Murray and Belmont, these polygons, those are in the historic part of the mining district where we're looking for things that the old timers didn't get to. Every hole we drill there incrementally adds ounces, and that's great. But that's only really half the story. The other half of the story is the targets going out to the east. Those are exploration flavored targets where we're looking for an extension of the entire district. So I'm going to switch now. We're going to look to underground side view or long section view. This is the ground surface, and then this is just going down to depth, up and down on the page. All of these dots are generally where our drill holes are. It's a bit of a cartoon just so I can make things a little simpler to understand. But what happened was that the veins run west to east or left to right, like that. And then they ran into this fault zone here called the Halifax Fault. And the old-time miners way back when lost them on the far side of this fault. But we've been following up pretty diligently, have drilled 6 holes out here, and all 6 of them have hit, with the highlight being 3 meters of 1,450 grams per ton silver equivalent in hole 59 here. And we're currently just stepping out around this right now, 100-meter spaced holes. to start to get an idea of where this thing could be going, which way it's pointing. But really, the key question is, okay, like, I'm going to simplify this and say that, okay, well, to the left of this fault zone, 400 million ounces of silver equivalent material was mined, plus whatever black rock's drilled, plus whatever we've drilled. There's no reason that told us that the veins don't that tells us that the veins don't continue way out to the right, and it's totally almost unexplored. So how much is left there for us to find? And that's what we're trying to find out with this drill program. Just in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip this one, and then just for 5 or 6 minutes talk about the Mogollon project, our other project located in southwestern New Mexico. This is the one that I really think is the most northerly of the Mexican vein fields that have such storied histories and really make Mexico the largest silver producer in the world. So here, just as a brief reminder, so far we're looking at 32 million tons of silver equivalent at 367 grams per ton. And I also just want to point out, I should have pointed this out earlier, that whenever I say silver equivalent, I'm just talking about silver and gold. I'm not combining lead or zinc or anything like that, because there just isn't any on these projects, except for a little bit of copper and some hand samples. That's it. Zoomed into our first drilling area, and this is a little bit, I'm just zooming into one of the ore chutes that we've drilled to show some of the drill results. You get numbers like 448 grams per ton silver equivalent over 31 meters on one side, 445 grams per ton silver equivalent over 16 meters on another side of this first, call it zone, in a vein we're drilling. And really, when you see veins that are that wide, it says to me as a geologist that, this is a really robust and strong system. I just like to see that. Like the first hole we drilled there, the vein was something like 50 meters wide in the core. And that's the first time I've ever seen a vein that wide in this situation. And it wasn't all mineralized, don't get me wrong, but you just see a lot of potential when you see veins that wide for a lot of mineralization. It's a very good sign. Okay, so this is again an underground long section. Zooming out here and just looking across 2 kilometers of the Queen vein. All of our drill holes are in here, or excuse me, most of them. We've got 3 additional ones in here. And then as well, there's some historic drilling that we've resurrected in between, more or less. But what you've got here is like, okay, well, we've drilled it, and I'm going to annotate this again if I can figure it out how. Yeah, here we go. We generally got data down to this level. That's the mining level, but we know these zones are open below. We know these zones are open below. We haven't closed this one off yet. There's lots of space to grow in here. So we're looking to really build a critical mass just on this first vein. And this first vein, to help put it into perspective, I'm just going to check my next slide to make sure I'm not going to confuse myself here. But, oh, excuse me. Yeah. So let's zoom back out. And this area that I was just showing you in the last slide was this area, excuse me, was just this 2 kilometers. That was the last slide. Well, there's an additional 75 kilometers of cumulative vein and structure present on the project that hasn't seen any modern exploration. And one of the things that we did when we got this project, because we didn't have even any surface data, was that we went and sampled all these veins at surface and got some really good numbers. Everywhere where there's a red dot, it's over 100 grams per ton silver equivalent. But we're just highlighting some really high grade stuff, 4,000, 6,000, 3,000, 8,000. These are areas that long term provide that big exploration upside that we're also very excited about, as we try to build critical mass just in this first 2 kilometers, where we've got a lot of drill data already and looks like we're onto something significant. Now, the thing I want to end on is just, okay, well, like, why should investors care about all of this? And I think a good way for me to shed some light on that question is to show some of our comps. So if you look at us and just really simply divide, our market cap by our ounces, we get about 52 cents Canadian per ounce in the ground. Well, if I look at some of my peers, starting at Argenta and probably going all the way up to Dolly, like it's the average is well over $1. So there's clear room for upside here. And even my direct comp in Blackrock Silver, which is right next door to us, in Tonopah, get about 90 cents. So, I think this is really compelling evidence for us to point to say, hey, we've got some room to run here relative to our peers, and not like there's anything wrong with any of these companies at all. They're all very strong. It's just feels to me and looks to me like we've just got some catching up to do. So that's it, Arlen. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, we got about 2 minutes for some Q&A here. So as they roll in,
Sure.
I want to touch base on your silver equivalent numbers. Um,
Yes.
like how much is that is attributable to silver versus like lead, zinc,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. So it's all attributable to gold and silver. There's no lead and zinc. I think like the highest zinc assay I've seen once was 1%. But in terms
okay?
of silver versus gold, which is really the most important, Tonopah is like generally, depending on what we drill, 60-40, 70-30 silver to gold. And then Mogollon in New Mexico is probably closer to 50-50 silver and gold.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, then so you just put some money in the bank too, so you're all cashed up, you're drilling, correct? And then you're
Correct.
drilling at Tonopah or both.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right now we're just drilling in Tonopah.
Okay.
It's just so interesting that, we've got our neighbor next door has 3 rigs turning right now. It's just where do we get more bang for our buck currently? And we think it's in Tonopah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, yeah, we had a question about BRC, but I don't think you need to answer that. One question lastly, when do you think drill results are gonna be coming out from Tonopah?
You know what? Like the holes we're drilling, we have to drill them deep because we can hit anywhere from like 200 meters down to we don't know how deep. So it's like you gotta kind of drill through to see them, which means they're slow. There's a lot of
Okay,
meters in each hole. And so we're done. We're starting our third. We've drilled five. I'll get too technical. 5 RC pre-colors, and then just starting the third core tail now. So I'd look to say somewhere in the next 4 to 6 weeks we'll be looking to get numbers out as they come in.
awesome. Galen, thanks so much for your time. Um, really appreciate you being here. I think you're doing a great job keeping your share cap tight still, right? Through
Yeah,
that
yeah.
those tough years, right?
Thank
We've
you.
had some tough years.
That's
So
something, yeah, great point, Arlen. That's something that we really decided to focus on was that.
yeah, yeah.
So
Excellent.
nice,
So we're
nice to
gonna
get that
sign
feedback.
yeah, we're gonna sign off here, Galen. Take care. Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you very much. You as well, and thanks for having me on.